Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit Acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. From gourmet snacks to unique finds, each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.
It is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. Happy Wednesday to you. I'm your host, Cam Stewart of ESPN Central Texas, but really through Rogue Media Sports Network. Guys, we are bringing you nothing but Boston sports talk 5 days a week, live here on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts. Again, I'm Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. We're going to hear from Zach later. But today we are talking about Patriots draft prospects. This will they, won't they with Abdul Carter. Should they is the real question at this point. Is he too uncoachable for them to go out and get? The Celtics finally know who they will be playing in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And could it be the worst case scenario? Roman Anthony is absolutely lighting up AAA. He is looking like one of the best hitters at any level of baseball. When, I ask you, will he be on the Boston Red Sox? All that and more coming up on this episode of the Cam Show. But look, guys, it's about to be the biggest day of the year for us Patriots fans. It used to be Super Bowl Sunday, or at the very least AFC Championship Sunday, and now it is the first round of the NFL draft. It comes to us in 8 days here? Am I right in that? Yeah, next Thursday. It will come to us, and the Patriots will be picking at number 4. At least that's what they're slated at. We know there's been all kinds of talk of trading up, potentially trading down, because this is such a weird kind of in-between pick at number 4. The best prospects are going to be gone in the top 3, or at least that's what we think. As we get closer to the NFL draft here, just over a week for that first round, it's becoming less clear who is going to be taken in the top 3. And that's not something we usually see in the NFL draft. Last year, it was pretty bang on who they were going to get. Top 3 picks were all going to be quarterbacks, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's how it went. And that benefited the Patriots. They got Drake May, number 3. And I think it was a hell of a pick. In fact, you could argue all 3 of those quarterbacks still have very bright futures ahead of them. But now this year at number 4, it looked like for a point you were going to get Travis Hunter to fall there. Now it doesn't look like that. And this whole time, you were thinking maybe Travis Hunter, not Abdul Carter. But within the last week or so, teams have soured on Abdul Carter, or at least that's what we have heard through the media. And there's always some kind of smoke this time of year, but there have been stories coming out about Abdul Carter from people who followed him and covered him in college, people who worked with him in college, and this is not going away. Talks of him being uncoachable, not a practice player, not a guy who's going to put in the work during the week, but a supreme talent. That's what's going to have him taken in the top 5 no matter what, is that unbelievable talent that he has to possibly be a game wrecker at the NFL level. But these stories are not going away of him being a head case, him being uncoachable, him being difficult with teammates. Now the question becomes, will the Patriots swallow that pill if he's available at number 4? No one expected him to be available at number 4, but if he is, do you just take on all the crap that comes with him? Albert Breer has been covering this inside and out. Obviously, one of the NFL draft experts. He has heard a lot about this Carter situation. Here's what he's saying about how the Patriots might handle this, or how they should handle this.
Are the character concerns, or whatever they may be, are they valid?
They're valid. I do not think they're enough to pass on a talent like this whatsoever. I think you'd be idiotic because of what that position is. You need, in all likelihood, at some point, they're going to need a great player at that position. It's a premium position. Most great defenses have guys like that. And the reality is exactly what Phil said, which a lot of those guys are different. Myles Garrett is a very different guy. Maybe one of the best 5 players at any position in the NFL. Micah Parsons isn't all that well liked in the Cowboys building. TJ Watt is very into him. So there's just, with every single one of them, there's something, and I don't know why it's specific to that position, but that's what you get. And so I think it's something eventually you're going to have to deal with. Do you want to deal with it in the first year under Mike Vrabel? Ideally, no. But this is too high end a talent to pass on.
Here's what I go back and forth on with this, because I think he's right in that Abdul Carter is too big a talent to not to not take him if he falls that low to him. I understand that argument entirely. And I know where the Patriots are at. They are in full rebuild mode again, right? This is not a team that is competing for a Super Bowl in the next year or two. But you bring in a new coach in Mike Vrabel, and he talks about culture and all this, and you have the franchise quarterback that you are trying to build towards that within the next 4 or 5 years of being really in contention to win the Super Bowl. Like that's what this is about. And the players he mentions in there that are studs at this position, great pass rushers, game wreckers is the term I keep using. You want to draft a game wrecker in the top 5. Those guys are great. Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt. They've not played in a Super Bowl. None of them have. And so here's the thing I keep wrestling with as a Patriots fan that's, moved on from the Super Bowl titles, the dynasty, the Belichick-Brady dynasty. But that's the frame of reference we have for a competitor, is what Belichick and Brady built. And those teams didn't necessarily have that guy. Richard Seymour in the early years was definitely the closest. And Vince Wilfork was a game wrecker in a very less sexy way at nose tackle. But they didn't have those guys. They tried in terms of the 3-4 linebacker with Roosevelt Colvin and guys like that, but they didn't have that. They didn't have a dominant pass rusher like some teams have now. And I look at what they did value, and that was smart, versatile defensive players. And obviously, Abdul Carter has the talent, all the talent in the world. And I don't know that I have the balls to pass on him at number 4. But I've talked a lot about Jalon Walker the last couple of weeks. Like, Jalon Walker fits that mold. He absolutely does. He fits the versatile defensive guy who can play a couple of different places on the field for you. Super athletic, just as athletic, if not more athletic, than Abdul Carter, who is seen as one of the great athletes in this draft and can run down the opposing quarterbacks. And, he's not necessarily the game wrecker pass rusher, but he can do a lot of things for you at a really high level, it looks like. And the best thing he can do, at least in college, was getting after the quarterback. So I think it's something worth thinking about here. That is that the mold we can still win with, that model of the way, Bill Belichick did things? Or do you need to have that guy? Because I mentioned those 3 that Breer mentioned, right? Probably the top 3 pass rushers still in the NFL, and you maybe want to include Aiden Hutchinson somewhere around there too, of Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, Aiden Hutchinson. None of those guys have played in the Super Bowl. But Chris Jones has. Chris Jones has won a couple. Aaron Donald won one recently. So it is still part of the blueprint, it looks like. But it just, and maybe this is my Patriots naivete of growing up in the time that I did and watching this team year in, year out in the Belichick era. But I just see so much value in Jalon Walker without the baggage. Abdul Carter has all the talent in the world. And I still understand why people would be like, screw the bag. Lawrence Taylor had baggage 40 years ago. All these guys, these great players have baggage. I understand that argument. But if I propose to you a Jalon Walker, a guy who is, by all accounts from analysts, not that much of a drop-off, not a dramatic drop-off from Abdul Carter in terms of just overall talent, obviously playing at 2 different positions, and he can bring you leadership qualities and doesn't have the baggage, for all the crap that Mike Vrabel has been preaching about culture and accountability and draining the swamp, for lack of a better term, and getting the guys who don't have that culture out of here, then I think it would be a pretty interesting move to use your first draft pick as head coach of the Patriots on a guy who does not fit that. And there are people talking on radio about, oh, well, I don't care what he does during the week. He's going to be a game day performer. And again, I'll dip back into the well of the Patriot way. Ernie Adams, I think one of the great quotes about the NFL in general is there's no such thing as a Sunday player. There just isn't. And that's not just the Patriots of the Belichick era. Any successful team will tell you that. There's no such thing as a guy who just shows up on Sundays. Those guys don't play. They don't last in this league. And there are some that can skate by on talent alone for a little while, right? We see it all the time. But those guys, A, have to have the top 1% of talent, which Abdul Carter might well have. And B, they become journeymen. They don't become studs on Super Bowl teams. They become Jags. They become guys who don't get that big second contract. They just bounce around. You can talk about all the baggage you want with Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons. Those aren't Sunday players. Those guys come out every day of the week and put in the work. They might be full of themselves a little bit, but they're not uncoachable. It's annoying that Micah Parsons has a podcast that he talks about the team every week while the team's losing and the teammates don't like it. It's annoying, I'm sure, to the Browns that Myles Garrett, is like, I'm going to leave. I don't believe in the direction of this team until you give me money. That stuff's annoying, but it's not uncoachable. It's not guys who are dramatically destroying your locker room. Although maybe Mike is doing that. That locker room in Dallas is a mess. It's not that. And Abdul Carter could be bringing that if all these reports are true. A guy who doesn't want to work, that's not a culture setter. And we have seen good teams, not just the Patriots, but good teams in this league over a long time say that's not worth it for us. The talent is great, but we need winners in here. And the Patriots have a distinct lack of winners, of course. They don't have any winners in that locker room. And I don't know, if you're presenting it to me of, hey, here's the A+ guy, the can't miss guy that you should be counting your blessings you're getting at 4, but he's going to be a massive headache, versus here's the A- guy who did win in college, by the way, who is part of a winning culture and was a great contributor to that winning culture, a guy who his former coaches are calling a coach on the field, a coach in the position room, just the consummate pro at the college level, and can bring you a ton of versatility. And by the way, not for nothing, doesn't have an injury history so far. Abdul Carter kind of does. I'm leaning towards that A- guy. Maybe I'm just too caught up in what the Patriots used to be, but that guy just absolutely fits the mold. That A- guy, Jalon Walker, fits the mold of what Mike Vrabel is saying he's trying to build. Whether they're actually going to do that or not, that's whether it's lip service or not. That's what Mike Vrabel's telling us. That's what Elliott Wolf is telling us, that they're looking for culture guys who can also be that top echelon. And I think most people would agree with Breer in saying it's idiotic to pass up on him. Because we think about it in the simplest terms. I used this talking about Chaim Bloom last week with the Red Sox. You remember in 2021, the Red Sox were picking at 4, and their guy, Jack Leiter, was already gone. But the guy who was originally the number 1 prospect of the draft, Marcelo Meyer, was still there. It's like, don't overthink it. Just pick the kid. Maybe that's what this is with the Patriots at 4. Because for a long time, it was Abdul Carter going to be number 1 for the Titans. And still, it kind of goes back and forth with him and Cam Ward. It seems like for sure it's going to be Cam Ward to Tennessee now. And now it becomes, don't overthink this. Just pick that guy at 4 if he's there. And they said the visit went well. Of course, they're going to say the visit went well. But if he's there at 4, I think the Patriots still draft him. If he's not there at 4, which I do think is more likely, I don't think he gets to 4. Jalon Walker is the guy. I'm hoping it's not Will Campbell. I'm hoping they just hyped up Will Campbell just to feed us some lines. But I've just, the more I see and the more I read on this kid, again, not a scout, but the more I see him and the more I read up on this kid, the more I want Jalon Walker to be the guy. And I use this example with Will Campbell. Like, if Will Campbell's not the 4th pick, he could well drop into the 20s. If Jalon Walker's not the 4th pick, he's going to be like the 6th pick. He's going to be like the 7th pick. The basement for him is still inside the top 10 unless there's a picture of him smoking weed out of a gas mask on draft night, right? And I think if Abdul Carter drops to 4, the issues might be bigger than all of us think, because there really isn't any reason talent-wise that he should drop to number 4 in the draft, especially with those teams not thinking quarterback, with 2 and 3 not thinking quarterback. It just doesn't seem like there's any way that Jalon Walker would drop to number 4. But I am fascinated to see how the Patriots handle that end of things. I do want to hear what you guys have to think. Let me know in the comment section below. Would they be idiotic to pass up on Abdul Carter at number 4 in the draft? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content 5 days a week. So check out the other videos on the channel on YouTube, where we are live at high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then available wherever you get your podcasts. Before we head into break, I did want to reiterate something on the Will Campbell front. While we're talking about the draft, right? We're here. We're talking about the draft already. Let's do it. I want them to take Jalon Walker, number 4. And I think more Patriots fans than people realize would have them take Jalon Walker at number 4. He just doesn't have the question marks that Will Campbell has. But I said this on the show last week, and much as I might want them to pick Jalon Walker, I'm still in this mindset of, I think they draft Will Campbell if he's there and Abdul Carter's not. I think they take that risk, which is a risk, but all those reasons I just listed off about Jalon Walker and the culture side of things, Will Campbell fits those. Will Campbell is a guy who was, a captain on his team and came in and talked about how he's not worried about the arm length. He can only ball. And I just think he just checks a lot of those boxes for the Patriots. And I think when you have a guy like Doug Marrone, a former NFL head coach, a long-time successful offensive coach, maybe not necessarily a successful head coach, but that doesn't matter, as your offensive line coach, I think the Patriots see that and they say, you know what? We see talent. It's a lot easier for us to give a guy like this to Doug Marrone than a stiff to Doug Marrone and make him talented. The guy was one of the best PFF grades in the entire country in terms of the pass protection. Yeah, there is the stat of, no left tackle with those size arms has ever gone to the Pro Bowl or made an All-Pro team. But I think they believe that if we give him to Doug Marrone, a poor man's Dante Scarnecchia, that we can make an NFL left tackle out of him despite the size. And that is an organizational philosophy, because they did used to do that with Dante Scarnecchia. It was to a lesser degree. They weren't giving him first-round picks other than Nate Solder. But they were saying, here's some scrub, make him into an NFL offensive lineman, make it into an NFL offensive line unit. And Scar's the best offensive line coach of all time, and he made it happen. I don't think Doug Marrone is quite at that level, but he does have a long track record of being a successful offensive line coach. So all that to say, I do think it should be Jalon Walker at 4 if Abdul Carter's not there. But the closer we get to this thing, the more I feel this is not lip service. I think they really like Will Campbell and that they would take him at 4. But I just see Jalon Walker, man. Maybe I'm hyping him up too much. I see back what we saw in like 2015, 16, when you knew they were going to have to make a decision soon on Jamie Collins and Dante Hightower. Remember that? In 2016, I think they traded Jamie Collins. And you saw two different kind of linebackers that brought a lot to the team, right? Dante Hightower was a 4-down guy. He was the defensive captain. Like, he was the brains on the field, as well as being a tremendously talented player. But Jamie Collins was just that. He was that freak athlete, right? He could do things athletically on the field that nobody else could do. He could pass rush. Sometimes he could drop back in coverage. He could chase down the best athletes on the field. He freelanced a little too much, but he had that insane athletic ability. Didn't necessarily have the discipline that Dante Hightower did, and the value that Dante Hightower did. And we obviously saw how well Hightower did in the biggest games of the year. Jalon Walker has a little bit of both of those things. You know, from all we read from what his time at Georgia, he's got the brains of Dante Hightower. You know, he's got the acumen of Dante being the guy on the field, the quarterback on the field for the defense, and the coach on the field, the coach in the position room. Like, that was Dante Hightower's defense, man. The same way it was, you know, Teddy Bruschi's and Willie McGinnis back in the day. That's what Dante Hightower was for that team. And you add the athleticism of Jamie Collins to that, you've got the perfect linebacker. And I really think Jalon Walker's got both of those things. So imagine if I could have sold you 10 years ago, because Dante Hightower was already a great player, an all-time great Patriot player, and one of the most underrated players in the league at the time. But I can sell you that and more athleticism, and a guy who can track down the athletic quarterbacks that are all over this league, and especially in your division, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Tua to a certain extent. Like, I give you those things. To me, that's a can't miss. That is a can't miss prospect. And I think whomever gets Jalon Walker will be getting a bargain. I really think you can look back some years from now and say, man, redraft, that guy might go number 1. Especially if he's going to a team that's closer to competing than the Patriots are right now. I know it's an oxymoron inside the top 10, right? Those teams are in the top 10 for a reason. But I just see so much Dante Hightower there, and enough of, you know, Willie McGinnis, Jamie Collins in there, that, and Mike Vrabel, by the way, who is actually probably the closest comp because he played on the outside like Jalon Walker was so successful at. Again, Walker was lined up over the center. He was lined up at the A gap, B gap, outside. He was playing everywhere for Georgia. But maybe Mike Vrabel is the best comparison in terms of that athleticism and getting after the quarterback. That's what Walker does the best. And again, this might be dipping my toes back into the old Patriots and the Belichick 3-4 and just how much I loved watching those defenses play and operate. But Jalon Walker is kind of that prototypical 3-4 outside linebacker who can chase down anyone on the field. And I just like using a top 5 pick for that guy more so than a guy who might be a tackle or might be a guard. It pains me in a way because Will Campbell, us as real football fans rather than analysts or scouts or anything, fans, love Will Campbell. The numbers are there. The guy can flat out play football. But if, as Bill Parcells said, if we don't have standards, we will only have exceptions. And there's a standard in this league for what the best tackles look like, essentially, how they measure out. Will Campbell does not have those measurements. And if we back off that, if we back off what the history and the tape has shown us for years and decades in the NFL, then we'll just have a bunch of exceptions. And when you're trying to build not only a winning team, but a winning culture, exceptions are just not going to get you there. They're just not. So I'm team Jalon Walker over here. I might even be team Jalon Walker over Abdul Carter, which is going to sound crazy to a lot of people. But maybe it's because I watch a lot of college football. I watch Georgia play a lot, and this guy was just in on everything. And to hear the stories behind the scenes and how crucial he is to that team off the field, I think there are going to be teams regretting they didn't draft him inside the top 5 or the top 10. But maybe that's just me, or maybe it's you too. Let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know if I'm being idiotic for potentially passing on Abdul Carter for someone like Jalon Walker, or if Will Campbell's just the guy. Don't overthink it. He's going to break the mold. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell to get notified every time we're going live. It's weekdays, high noon Eastern time, every weekday here on YouTube, then wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the other videos on the channel. Of course, I'm Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air on The Cam Show. We roll on. We've got to talk about the Celtics and their matchup in the first round of the NBA playoffs, why it might not be the one they were hoping for. That's coming up next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at GrencoScience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Angles 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Angles90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com.
And now, back to our show.
We are back. It's the Cam Show with Rogue Media Sports Network. Thank you to Pete Souza for sending us back into the show. Pete had a big-time guest today. Those of you following along the Rogue Media Sports Network, Pete Souza's the show on before us. He had his old buddy Todd McShay on to talk a little bit about the NFL draft. So definitely check that out. Got to see a bit of that conversation. It was pretty good stuff out there from Pete. But we are on the Cam Show now, and we're done talking about the NFL draft for today. Of course, I mean, we'll basically be talking about that every day leading up to it next Thursday. But we do need to talk about the Celtics a little bit because I'm not a huge fan of the play-in tournament. I don't know about you guys. And if you are or you're not, get in the comment section, and let me know. But I get it. I understand it's actually an easy way to, get some more games on the schedule. I do think it has its benefits. I just think we're overthinking it a little bit. And I think the momentum of it in the NBA has really kind of turned off the last couple of years. Early on, it was like, oh, it's a good thing. This is how you should, like, teams should be playing competitive games at the end to get into the playoffs. We don't want scoreboard watching, essentially, which is what we're seeing a lot of in the NHL the last few days, where you've got to win, but also you've got to hope for some other teams to lose. In the case of the NHL, you got to hope for teams to drop points. And I think that is the biggest thing with the play-in tournament, is that you're just trying to get rid of scoreboard watching to a certain extent and just be like, hey, these are the teams that are competing for the spots. Go ahead and play it. I just think we haven't gotten a great entertainment value out of it, if we're being totally honest. And it doesn't, outside of one Miami run, it doesn't usually become an indicator of a team getting hot in the play-in tournament and getting there. But I think I'm in the minority on that. I think a lot of people like the NBA play-in tournament, but we had it last night. All that to say, we had two teams battling for the 7th seed to have the honor of facing the Boston Celtics, the defending NBA champions, in the first round. The Orlando Magic, they beat the Atlanta Hawks last night pretty convincingly, and they will take on the Celtics in the first round. Now, this has not been the Magic's best year. Obviously, they lose Jalon Suggs in the middle of the season. They're a 500 basketball team, a team that had so much promise last season, right? Taking Cleveland to 7 games, good young core. They still have a ton of promise, but this is a team that doesn't hold a candle to the Celtics, and that is what it should be in the first round, right? This team is not even close to the Celtics on paper. They're young. They're not very efficient offensively, and the Celtics should wipe the floor with them. Or should they? Because I've been watching a lot of Celtics basketball the last couple of years, and it's been very fun. It's been very good. They've won way more often than they've lost. But one of those teams they continue to slip up against a lot in the last few seasons is the Orlando Magic. In fact, the Magic look like the 96 Bulls sometimes when they're facing the Celtics, and that worries me a little bit. And again, this has been a success. I don't know if it's just a young team that really gets up when they're playing the Celtics, but the Magic have won 6 of the last 9 matchups against them in the last 3 seasons. And they've taken the season series this year 2-1. Now, context to that, Jason Tatum literally didn't play in the 2 games that the Magic beat the Celtics. And the last one they played, when Boston only scored 76 points in that game, they had like nobody playing. If I'm not mistaken, Tatum, Brown, Horford, Porzingis, and Holiday, maybe even Derek White as well. They were all out in that game. Like literally your whole rotation was out. That was the back-to-back after the overtime game against the Knicks with only a couple games remaining. Obviously, they said, we're not doing that. So you need some context involved there, but this is a scrappy team, young, scrappy team that doesn't really know any better. And it's almost a direct comparison for me to 2008 when the Celtics played the Hawks in the first round, and the Hawks took them to 7 games, and nobody on planet Earth saw that coming. You know, that was a team that was in their first postseason. Orlando kind of did that last year in their first postseason with taking Cleveland to 7 games. But, you know, that was a team that had a bunch of young guys. Al Horford, chief amongst them on the Hawks in 07-08, which is kind of crazy. But Josh Smith, former Celtic Joe Johnson, you know, they had a bunch of nice guys, right? Was Mike Bibby on that team? Am I getting that wrong? I think. Anyway, they just had a bunch of young guys and maybe Mike Bibby running around and making life hell for the Celtics, running them ragged. The Magic have a bunch of good young players, right? The Wagners and Paolo Banchero obviously is the big one. He's been hurt at times this year. Cole Anthony was the big spark plug off the bench last night in their biggest game of the season. He had 25 off the bench for them, filling in admirably for Jalon Suggs in his absence. But they're not going to run you all over the floor. I'll say that. They're the slowest team in the NBA, actually. Slowest in pace. Right behind them is the Boston Celtics, if that counts for anything. But they've had, I mean, Banchero's a good enough shooter. Wagner's a good shooter as well, Franz Wagner. They've got some guys, but I just see this team, this Magic team, who can really get gritty with you defensively. They can bear down defensively. That's really been their calling card this year. But they don't have the firepower to keep up with the Celtics. I think in the NBA, when you come down to brass tacks, that's what it's got to be. And especially when you're the underdog, like you've got to have, when you're facing a team as stacked as the Celtics, you've got to have a couple of guys who can go off, right? When you look at the upsets that the Celtics have had or been at the hands of the last couple of years, it's been to Miami. And in 2020, it was Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero had a great series. You know, in 2023, It was Jimmy Butler, of course. And then you had, Caleb Martin having games of his life. Max Strus doing the same thing. I just don't know that you have that kind of firepower for the Magic. Because in those Heat teams, Jimmy Butler was guaranteed to go off for you every night. He was going to give you 30. That was playoff Jimmy at playoff Jimmy's best. Paolo Banchero is a heck of a young player. He's not guaranteed to give you 30. Cole Anthony is not guaranteed to just crush you from the three-point line the way Caleb Martin would do. Or Tyler Hero in that 2020 series. He's not a guarantee to do that. He might have a game or two like that. Don't get me wrong. Wagner, same thing. He's not going to give you 30 every night. And the Celtics will be rested. They will be healthy enough. I think Drew Holiday's still dealing with something that they're not really talking much about. Jalon Brown is obviously not 100%. Porzingis can go down at any minute. But White, healthy, which he wasn't earlier in this year. Jason Tatum, healthy. Al Horford, healthy. Peyton Pritchard, much bigger role than he had even last year when he had a pretty damn good postseason. Sam Hauser does a lot for them defensively that he didn't do last year. Luke Cornett, I think they'll have some more trust playing in the postseason this year because he really didn't at all last year. So I just don't see Orlando having the firepower to keep up with the Celtics. But that said, the NBA regular season doesn't mean a lot for us as fans, but I think for the players, it does mean something. And when you've got a young, hungry team that has won 6 of the last 9 games against these Celtics, for the careers of most of these guys, the last 3 years. So that's basically the careers of Banchero and Wagner and Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs, who's not playing. They're not afraid of the Celtics. That's the one thing that I think can play into Orlando's hands. They're not afraid of the Celtics at all. They're just the same way the Hawks were not when they faced the Celtics in 2008. They're not intimidated by it. I don't know that Orlando is considered one of the great raucous arenas in the league, but neither is Atlanta. And in 2008 in that series, it was a cauldron. Atlanta's not a great sports town. This is not great fans. Orlando, you could say the same thing, but maybe this is what they get behind. Maybe they do have the us against the world mentality. I think the Magic can push the Celtics a little bit because there will be a night, just like there was last year a couple of times in the postseason, right? Celtics lost 3 games in the playoffs last year. Each of those games, it was just one of those where every once in a while the Celtics cannot hit the broadside of a barn and they're going to attempt 63s and, they're going to make 20 of them. And bam, you lose a game by 15 points. I think the Celtics are still susceptible to that, even though they're playing their best basketball going into the postseason. I think they are still susceptible to that. But what the Celtics showed you last year and what they will probably show you again this year is that they are so good that a night like that just leads to 5-game series rather than being pushed to 7 or being knocked out. Orlando, to me, almost poses more of a concern than the Knicks do. The Knicks know they can't beat you in the second round. They know they can't beat you. In fact, they might be caught looking ahead playing the Pistons, who was a tough matchup for them, because they think, oh God, here come the big bad Celtics next. Cleveland has a bit of that FU attitude. They're not going to be intimidated. And that's going to be, I think, the first great test for the Celtics in the conference finals. In fact, that might be a bigger test than the NBA finals, if by some miracle they get there and they don't play Oklahoma City. Like if they're playing anybody else in the West, even if it's Denver and Jokic or the Lakers, wouldn't that be fun? If it's anybody out West other than Oklahoma City, Cleveland's a tougher matchup. They just are. So Orlando, are you worried about them? Is this too much of a team playing with house money? A young team that doesn't know they're not supposed to win this series, and one that does still have a promising future. Like we're not talking about like that Atlanta team was like 7 games under 500 in 08. They didn't have much of a future after that. It took a couple of years for them to kind of get that core back to being a postseason team. But this Magic team were supposed to take a big step up this year. They had a bunch of injuries. They didn't. So the talent is there. They played in a 7-game series last year. They're not intimidated by your home building. Cleveland's a heck of a building as well, and they pushed it to 7 there last year. Of course, they didn't win any of the road games, but you know what I mean. They can push the Celtics. I really think so. They're not going to beat the Celtics, but they can push them a little bit. And maybe that's exactly what this team needs. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you give the Orlando Magic any chance? Because they have taken 2 of the 3 all-time playoff series against the Celtics. Dwight Howard's not walking through that door. Shaquille O'Neal is not walking through that door. And Jameer Nelson is not walking through that door. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Only about 10% of you that are watching are actually subscribed to the channel. We're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content 5 days a week, folks. I'm Cam Stewart. Zach Burke's the producer that keeps us on the air. Check out the other videos on the channel. And be sure to check out the rest of the channel and find us here live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcasts. The Red Sox are in a bit of a conundrum here, but it's a good one. Roman Anthony needs to be on this team sooner rather than later. We'll tell you why coming up next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and OrganicHemp.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mullybox, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your taste. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusanes.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back to the Cam Show here on Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We are live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts. Talking about Boston sports, baby. Boston sports and more Boston sports. We've done the Patriots draft strategy. Still a bunch of question marks at who they're going to pick at number 4. Definitely was not the case at this time last year. You know, there were some people saying, oh, well, maybe Marvin Harrison, you get the game-breaking receiver. You never been able to get that right. But it was going to be Drake May. It was going to be Drake May that whole time at number 3, unless Jaden Daniels was available. Then they would have picked Jaden Daniels. So this is different. This is I'm not used to the Patriots getting premium picks, but I would say as uncertain as I felt about a Boston sports team with this premium of pick. Obviously, baseball is a little bit different. I talked about the Marcelo Meyer one. Like that's, I'm really focusing on the NBA and the NFL is what I'm trying to say. And it just hasn't had such uncertainty in a top 5 pick. But who knows? That's another week away. We've also talked about the Celtics and their first round matchup with the Orlando Magic and why you might need to be worried a little bit, maybe a little bit. And now with the Red Sox and their future. This has become a time in basically every show, at least a couple of times a week, where I just start blowing one of these Red Sox prospects that is generational talent that I just can't wait to see get up there in the majors. The Sox did right the ship for a day last night. We're all preggy for Breggy right now. Alex Bregman with his first 5-hit game of his career, and he screws out of here. He goes, I'm going back to Boston. Well, he's having a kid born. I'll give that to him. 2 home runs on the night. Red Sox win at 7-4, but there's still plenty of holes in this lineup. And the benefit for the Red Sox is they have reinforcements. They have guys ready to go. In fact, this has become kind of a tough situation for the Red Sox because they feel they still have a solid major league roster, even though, it's not gone all according to plan the first couple of weeks, but they have got the good kind of problems down at AAA because Roman Anthony is knocking the piss out of the baseball. And you're sitting up here watching Ceddanne Rafaela every day and thinking, should Roman Anthony still be in Worcester? Should he still be out at Polar Park wearing woo socks across his chest when we have to watch Ceddanne Rafaela every day? Put Roman Anthony in left, put Jaron Duran in center. Let's see this kid. We have passed the deadline for service time, so you can bring him up and not burn a year of service time on him unless he wins Rookie of the Year, which could be a possibility if you bring him up. I mean, this kid has been electric so far in AAA this year. You look at the prospect savant page, and it's so red they're calling it Mao. Okay? Like everything is in the 95th percentile or higher in terms of these advanced batting stats, right? The xWOBA, the X batting average, the X slugging, the exit velocity, the barrel percentage, 100%. He's barreling up baseballs down there at AAA. The hard hit percentage, the chase rate is excellent. Like this is truly the number one prospect in baseball doing it at this level. By the way, strikeout percentage kind of in the middle, 43rd percentile, 96th percentile in walks. That shows me the kid can swing hard, but he is selective. He is selective enough, I think, to be playing in the major leagues right now. And there's still going to be some kinks in this, right? He's 20 years old. He's about to turn 21 next month. He's still got to learn kind of major league defense, and obviously major league pitching is different even from AAA, but the guy just keeps knocking the cover off the ball at every level he's been at. And the numbers are crazy. We talk about drive line all the time, and Christian Campbell's the only one that's putting the bat on the ball pretty consistently on the major league roster. How about this stat? This is from Jay Hay of what is it? Baseball is Dead podcast, the one he used to work with Carabas. Roman Anthony's barrel rate at AAA this season is 38.7%. The only players in MLB who had a barrel rate over 20% last season were Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. That's it. Over 20%. Now, I know Major League pitching is much different from AAA. That's not lost on any of us. But he's almost doubling that percentage, man. Like, that is crazy stuff. 38.7%. It's absolutely absurd what this kid is doing. And the exit velocity, I mean, the ball is just flying off his bat. And we got to sit up here and watch Ceddanne Rafaela every day. I think Rafaela is a great trade candidate. I think he's much closer to, we had heard when he was coming up, he could have some Mookie Betts in him. I think he's much closer to Jackie Bradley than he is Mookie Betts. And look, Jackie Bradley can be a fine platoon player for you on a team, fourth outfielder, terrific defender, obviously Gold Glover, but was not a hitter. Ceddanne Rafaela is not a hitter. And you look at this kid coming up the pike here with his absurd, advanced hitting stats here. And the more I see it, the more I'm like, Ceddanne Rafaela, have fun being a super utility guy for us. You can be very useful as a super utility guy, but your 0.4 WAR and your 547 OPS is just not going to do it for us right now. Your 14 total bases in 16 games, it's not doing it for us. When do we see this kid come up? Because to me, it feels like any day, right? Like he's past the service time thing. You don't need to burn that year from him this year unless he wins the Rookie of the Year. You're already seeing the results from Christian Campbell, who you had similar concerns about whether he was ready for the majors, but someone who, like your other top prospects, has just really bought into the drive line thing and making contact, putting the ball in play. And his numbers in those categories are better than anyone on the team. He's putting the ball in play a ton. His chase rate is great. And here's Roman Anthony doing the same thing at AAA. And it's like, when does he get his shot? Christian Campbell makes the everyday roster. You see that he is absolutely surviving in the major leagues, right? Well, why can't you think that same way about Roman Anthony? He's in the Christian Campbell I'm talking about here is in the 75th percentile or better in xWOBA, x batting average, x slugging, and walk percentage. So, the exit velo isn't crazy or anything like that. The barrel rate isn't crazy. It's 53rd percentile. But for a kid who spent almost 3 weeks in the majors, who you didn't know if he was going to be ready to go up there and had the ascent, the same, rapid ascent through the minors that Roman Anthony had, what he has shown you is he's going to come up to the majors and he's not going to drown. He's not going to be what Yohan Moncada was when he got to the majors. He's not going to be what Jackson Holiday was when he got to the majors. Okay? These guys are going to survive. There's going to be bumps in the road for Christian Campbell this year, but ultimately, it would be stunning if he has a bad year at the major league level. I think what Campbell has shown you in the majors so far in these couple of weeks is indicative of what Roman Anthony should be able to give you, but with even more power. Bottom line is, it looks like the kid's ready for the major leagues, and he can help your major league ball club right now. He's not going to drown up there, and he can actually help you. And by the way, if he does have, an 0 for 20, there's still no excuse for this Red Sox lineup to have to rely on him. I'm not saying you got to rely on him early in the season. I'm not saying that. But he's probably a better option than what you have at Cedar Rafaela right now, and he is the future of your franchise. And you already gave that opportunity to Christian Campbell. You've let him work it out. But if Roman Anthony does come up and he's 0 for 25, or 3 for 31 or whatever, then that's not the reason why you would be losing baseball games. The reason is that Tristan Casas still stinks. The reason is that Jarren Duran has not been consistently good enough for you, even though he had a homer last night. The reason is that Rafi Devers still hasn't found quite the power stroke yet. It would be those things. It would not be Roman Anthony. So to me, it's just a matter of time before the face of your franchise, the future face of the Boston Red Sox, Roman Anthony, is actually playing in Boston. Just a matter of time. Sooner rather than later. Let's make this thing happen. You can ease him in against the White Sox. Although maybe that's easier said than done when you're the Red Sox, because Chicago looks pretty bad against just about everybody else. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is it time to bring up Roman Anthony? Let me know why or why not in the comment section. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, find the other videos about Boston sports and all the Red Sox content on the YouTube channel here. And be sure to check us out 5 days a week, live every weekday on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. This has been a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office.
Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hinomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Tusanes, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.